Well, welcome everyone. My name is Will Sparks. I'm a chair professor of leadership here and excited to be with you this evening. Really looking forward to a lively conversation with Kristi Coleman and appreciate you so much being here with us this evening. It's great to be playing to a packed house with standing room only, so welcome and thank you all for being here. We're going to get started. Just a few quick housekeeping items before we do that. The first is, for those of you that have been here before, we have a sort of a facilitated fireside chat process that will go through a number of items and questions to get to know Kristi and her leadership journey along the way. Because of the size of the group, we decided to have students submit their questions, which we've had undergraduate and graduate business students that have taken us up on that. So I have a number of student questions that we'll go through at the end as well. And then we will adjourn at 6 o'clock sharp, as I know some folks have class this evening and your faculty members are here, knowing that you'll have a class at 7. Sorry, we'll adjourn at 7. So quick leaders in action, right? One and done. Easiest one I've ever done. Out. All right. But we'll adjourn at 7 and we will have a reception upstairs. The one item that I do ask is that if you will please let us exit up when this is over so that we can get upstairs and enjoy that reception and hold any questions you may have for that up there. Okay? So with that, let's get started. And the first question I have for Kristi is just to tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey up to this point. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And what was your very first job?
Sure. Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for all of you for being here tonight. I am overwhelmed by the number of people. I wasn't quite expecting this, but thank you all so much for being here. So I grew up on Lake Hartwell, a very small town in South Carolina. Actually, I was originally born in Atlanta. And when I was 9, we moved to South Carolina. So grew up on Lake Hartwell and went to Clemson. Enjoyed my time at Clemson and then moved to Charlotte. So I've kind of just stair-stepped up the Carolinas and here I am.
Okay. And you said
my first job. Sorry, I didn't answer that one.
Yeah.
So my very, very, very first job, my parents in school were always like, you have to have a job, you have to have a job, you have to have a job. And so my very first job was as a lifeguard at our pool in our neighborhood. So that's where I got, I guess all of my work ethic came from my time at the pool.
Got it. Okay. Excellent. And so you mentioned Clemson. Tell us a little bit about I think you did an undergrad and a master's there at Clemson. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience at Clemson, why you chose accounting, maybe, and your first job after graduation?
I went to Clemson. When I was in high school, my parents, again, were very focused on you have to have a job, you have to have a job, you have to have a job. And so they said, you have to do accounting. My mom was an accountant. My older brother was an accountant. My dad he worked for General Motors. He was not an accountant. But my mom and my parents were very focused on you have to have a job. When they named me, my actual name is Kristen. They call me Kristi, but Kristen, my mom thought would be better on resumes. So again, we're always trying to get me employed from the very beginning. But no, my parents always had said you have to do accounting because you'll always have a job. Maybe not anymore with artificial intelligence, but regardless, you'll always have a job if you do accounting. So the accounting was my major, like it or not. And I took my first accounling class at Clemson, and I studied the hardest I've ever studied for a test. I studied and studied and studied, and I was like, I have to get an A on this test because this is my life. I'm an accountant. I'm going to be an accountant. So I thought it was so important. And then I took the test, thought I did fine, but then got the grade back, and I got a C or something, and I was like, oh my gosh. I can't do accounting. I'm a failure. I can't do this. So I actually got ready to go and change my major. I was doing anything but accounting because I clearly was a failure. I studied that hard and didn't get an A. I had to be terrible. And I won't ever forget, I called my older brother. He's 15 years older than me. And I call him up and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do accounting. This can't be my major. I didn't get an A on this test. I'm changing it. I'm going to do marketing or something, like anything but accounting. The farthest thing you could be in business, but be. And he was like, no, like you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? If you're not doing accounting, you have to do finance. So, just you're nuts. Go back, figure this out, give it another try. So I go back to the class. I didn't get to drop the class. I didn't take the W withdrawal. I stayed in the class. But the next class, the teacher was like, "Oh, I messed up the Scantrons," and so I actually had gotten an A on the test. So for all the students in here, don't make don't make rash decisions. Maybe think it through a little bit more. So yeah, accounting was my major. I got my CPA, went on, and I graduated from Clemson in 06 undergrad, 07 grad. I got my master's in accounting as well. So I actually ended up being pretty good at it. And then I started with Deloitte as an auditor. And actually, the Carolina Panthers were my very first client. So that's how I got into sports. A lot of people, I think the next question, or the question I always get from everyone, including you, is how did you get into sports? Did you always want to be in sports? And I had no intention to be in sports. I played sports in high school and middle school, but I was by no means the best on the team. I could run fast, and that was probably it. But when I graduated, like I said, I started with Deloitte, and I just happened to, I find myself to be like the book, The Outliers. I don't know if any of you have read it, but you kind of just end up in the right places at the right time. And I just kind of ended up in the right place at the right time and started with Deloitte, got on the Panthers engagement. I was the MV of the office. And the Panthers had a requirement, if you're on a certain type of their union audit, you had to then be on the financial statement audit. So I spent 6 months of the year, every year, out at the Panthers, and then in 2014, they called me to come over as controller. So the rest is history.
Was that a difficult decision when they asked you to do that, to leave the Deloitte?
So it was really hard for me. When I left Deloitte, when I was there, I thought I was going to be a partner. I thought, I'm happy, I'm good. We're doing this. I'm going to be a partner at Deloitte. I felt like I was on the partner track. If John Giannuzzi were here, he'd probably tell you that he thought the same. So it was a very hard decision, and I consulted a lot of people. Again, my village. I called my brother, I called my husband, I called everybody to figure out, should I stay with Deloitte or do I go? And really, the question I was wrestling with was do I stay somewhere where I know I have a path to continue to rise, or do I go somewhere where I think I'm going to be a controller for the rest of my life and I have absolutely no upward trajectory, no anything, it's going to be this. And obviously that's not what happened, but at the time when I was trying to make the decision was, do I want to continue to grow, or do I want to go and somewhere and probably be stagnant? And at the time I chose to go somewhere and probably be stagnant, because I thought it was really important for my family, really important for how I was able to integrate my family into my work, and how I saw people every single day. When I would go out to the Carolina Panthers, it was just magic to go to the stadium every day. It was just so, it still is. I mean, I just loved every day walking through the wind tunnel to get to, the front door and all the things, and to see the athletes, the Miss Jerry, Mr. Coleman, everyone. It was just, it was a hard decision to leave, but the right one for me at the time.
Excellent, thank you. We've got a lot of graduate students in here. I'm curious about your decision to stay that extra year. What factors did you consider for getting your master's in accounting?
Oh, I had to.
Was this?
I wasn't a choice. Only because with the CPA, the way the exam runs is you had to have so many credit hours, and at Clemson they kind of like beat it into you that you can do, if you could go and get your hours doing something silly, or you could go and get your hours actually learning the expertise that you're getting your hours in. So to get your hours, I had to do it to get my hours.
Okay.
that's probably not what anybody wants to hear, and probably not what. But that's just that was my story. That was my why. I had to get the hours to sit for the CPA exam.
Yeah.
So as an accountant, that was, that was the most important thing, was passing that exam.
Okay. Let me ask you a question about, so you're president of the Carolina Panthers, you're CEO of Tepper Sports and Entertainment. So maybe a two-part, could you tell us what we were talking about in the pre-meeting? So tell us a little bit about the Tepper Sports and Entertainment and how that fits in with the Panthers. And then if there's such a thing as a typical day for you, could you tell a little bit, like, what's that like? What time do you get in? Do you have certain meetings? Is it different during the season, off season? I'm just curious about what's your typical day like?
So it's so funny when I work for just the Panthers, people would always say, "What do you do in the off season? Do you guys like go on vacation? You know, you're just
play a lot of golf."
Yeah. No, there's no real off season. No, so as in my role, I am president of the Carolina Panthers. I'll call it president of Charlotte FC, and then I'll call it president of the stadium. So I have all three of those, and those are all actually three distinct entities. They do three distinct things. So our stadium, obviously we have concerts, and someone was talking about Savannah Bananas. We have all those, those fun things, and then we Charlotte FC. The great thing about it is we all play at the same stadium, and I think that's what made the decision, I think, for Dave and Nicole to put me in this role as CEO a little bit easier, because we're all functioning out of the same place. We all have the same home. And then there's Panthers and Charlotte FC. I run both of those, and there's no typical day. I'd say the only thing that's consistent in my days is I do take my boys to school every day. That's really important to me, unless I'm traveling or something. But I do try to make sure that I navigate in my day to make sure that I can take them to school. That's kind of our time together, even though they don't enjoy it as much as I do, or maybe I don't enjoy it as much as they do some days. But because I have 6 and 9-year-old boys, so they're fun, they're wild and fun and boys. But anyway, so no day is the same. I spend a lot of time with my team. I love being around our team. We have, like everybody else, you have different meetings. You're making sure that everything's on track. But then also, there's a big community aspect of this. I get to spend a lot of time actually with Dr. Dietermeyer, Keith Cockrell, like a lot of people in the community, which I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's I think there's a question later on mentors. So it's great to be able to have those interactions with those folks, mm-hmm. and be able to see how they interact as well. So I'm lucky from that perspective.
Okay, excellent. What is the sort of in this line? What's the biggest difference between leading a sports and entertainment company or series of 3 maybe entities versus something that would be in a corporate setting? I mean, I think that people have this image of, oh my gosh, you get to work at the stadium and you've got the Panthers and how cool that would be. But what's it really like, and how's it different from your experience at Deloitte?
Well, it is really cool to get to see the players, the coaches, and to be part of that team atmosphere. I mean, you can't cut it any other way. Now with soccer, it's really cool to go out to our facility out in East Charlotte's Atrium Health Performance Park, mm-hmm. because we have our first team, our academy, and our business, and our MLS Next team all under one roof. So kind of like the stadium, we're all in one roof there. Mm-hmm. And it is really cool to get to be around the players and to see how they interact and all that kind of stuff. I can't sugarcoat it. You get to go and see famous people every day. Mm-hmm. You maybe get immune to it just a little bit, but. Mm-hmm. But in making the decision, I guess going back to Deloitte versus coming to the Panthers, the one thing is you get to root for your team that you work for every Sunday, which is pretty freaking cool. I mean, I can't, like, if I were working for Deloitte, I'm not, waiting to turn on Deloitte on Sunday, or getting excited for Monday Night Football. So, and it works out really well for my husband because we get to watch a lot of football, and sports and all the things just in general. So no, but we have all the same types of things that people have, and we have customers, we have fans, mm-hmm. we have all of those things that you want to make sure that you're doing the absolute best you can for your fans. You want to make sure you're doing the absolute best for your employees. And so, I mean, it's very similar, I'd say, to work in industry, but I'd say that the lucky part for us is we have a little bit of perks that come along with that make it easier to get up every day, except when you lose. I mean, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a roller coaster.
You talking about the celebrity. A couple of days ago, I accidentally, where's Sherry? I really did accidentally pull into the student parking garage because the gate was up and I wasn't paying attention. So I was like, wait, I'm in the wrong garage. And I went to turn around and the Hornets are practicing here because the arena's being renovated. I thought, there's Miles Bridges getting out of his Range Rover. That's pretty cool. So, I can, that's kind of a
it doesn't
cool thing.
Get old.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't get old. So.
You just wish you had one.
Yes, that's true, which I do not. Let's talk about leadership and your approach to leadership. That's something that is very much in our DNA in the McCall School, our namesake, Hugh McCall, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. So I've got a few questions around leadership. And the first might be to your approach to leading others. So who's had the greatest influence on you from a parent, mentor, former boss, anything like that, before we get into your style of leading others? Who's sort of had the biggest influence on your approach to working with and leading others?
I could name so many people over the years who've had an impact. Obviously my parents, my mom, my husband, even my kids, so many people. But I think people are surprised when I say David Tepper and Nicole Tepper. I've been so fortunate to work for them. The support that Nicole gives me, I know she can't be here today. They're traveling today, but she has just been a rock and just and just incredibly supportive of me. And then Dave, the same. I will never forget my first board meeting. As CFO. So I was on maternity leave and come back from maternity leave, become CFO, and then all of a sudden I've got to prepare for a board meeting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't really gotten to know everybody. This was right after Dave bought the team, and we got the materials all prepared, and he sat down with me, and he's like quizzing me on what I knew about the financials and all the different things, and just making sure that I had it so I could answer the questions. It was just, I think about those moments when someone actually takes the time to teach you, and then afterwards, after the meeting, we met, and then it was like, these are the things that you need to work on, these are the things you don't, these are, this is what I liked. And I appreciate that, somebody who could be doing anything else in the world and probably should be doing anything else in the world is spending that time with me to help me learn and to grow and do better in my job. So that, I think about that, and it meant the world to me. But I also think about Charlotte in general and how just supportive everybody in Charlotte was. When I got in the role of team president in 22, Dr. Dietermeyer reached out to me, Nancy McNellis reached out to me, all of these different people in the community, and all of these people had said to me, we're not going to let you fail. We're going to help you. We're going to help you succeed. And this community in Charlotte and what the business leaders do here is just really incredible, and how they band together. I couldn't be more fortunate and thankful for that.
Thank you. Nancy McNellis is a name we know very well here on the McCall School of Business. So excellent. Thank you. So what about how would you, or maybe how would others describe your leadership style?
I'm looking at my chief of staff right now, Kendall, because I asked her this question. I'm like, how would you describe me? So no, I think I think I'm collaborative. I like to bring as many voices to the table as we can. Our fans represent a diverse group of people, and I like to have a diverse group of people at the table when we're trying to make decisions. So I think that's very important. I've heard from others I'm fair but tough but fair. All the things. I think that what I pride myself most on is that I'm passionate about the people. I love the people I work with, and I think everything else just gets better from there if you have that as the foundation.
Do you have any sort of personal philosophy that underlies your approach to leading others? I mean, anything about human nature, or people are basically good or basically not? I mean, anything like that that you think sort of underlies or provides a foundation for how you lead and manage?
I think people, my expectation is that people just do their job. Like if you just do your job, I think in the world we're in right now, so many people are trying to figure out how to get to the next thing. How do I get to the next job? Or how do I get to the next promotion? Or why am I not seen for doing this? Or what, you know, everybody's so worried and so focused on being something that they aren't currently, that they lose sight of what they're doing currently, and they don't do that good. And the way I feel like I've gotten to where I am is I've always done my job. I wasn't just, oh, how do I get to be the director of finance? How do I get to be the CFO? How do I get to be the team president? And none of those things were even in my thought process. It was just, how do I just get my job done and people see that I'm doing a good job? And I think that's really important. And I think if people focus on that more, they'll rise faster than maybe if being too worried about the next.
Yeah, I want to go back to an earlier answer. I was just thinking about what you said about David Tepper sort of asking you questions about the financials in preparation. Do you think that was done to sort of prepare you for, like, here are the questions you may be getting? Or I can tell that it meant a lot to you that he took the time to do that. Do you think that his approach for doing that was saying, like, hey, when you're up in front of the group, these are the things that might be asked? So it sounds like there's a little more coaching, sort of asking where that, where the knowledge was as well.
Oh, for sure. It was definitely making sure I was just prepared, you know, and I think that's you all do that. Everybody, you practice for the game. You've got your Super Bowl, you've got your game, you've got your, in the finance world, a board meeting is the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So you gotta practice and you gotta be prepared. And I just appreciate that we were a team.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Let me ask you about resiliency. One of the other elements we really emphasize in our leadership class is the ability to bounce back from a setback. And sort of one thing that we all share in common is that we're going to encounter obstacles, disappointments, setbacks in our life. And so how do we face those? How do we manage through those? Could you share a time when you had to be resilient, whether it was overcoming a setback or obstacle or dealing with a different kind of a problem? A little bit about what happened, how did you approach it, and has that changed you? Did it inform the way that you are in the future, or in the present and in the future?
So when I was at Deloitte, I thought, I was working crazy hours, it was nuts. And I kept seeing my friends going out, Wade and I we just got married. But we were, it seemed like everybody had more time than I did because I was just constantly working. I felt like I just worked all the time. And so I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I can't do it. I'm not doing it. And so I looked for another job, and I took another job as a financial, I don't know, FP&A or I don't even remember exactly what, financial planning for a manufacturing company in Gastonia. And I got there thinking oh, I have a 9 to 5. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna enjoy life. And I got there and it wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. I wasn't working with people all the time. I came in, I'm a very early riser. And my boss at the time came in really late, but he liked to stay late. So it just was an interesting dynamic. And I just did not enjoy it. I wasn't surrounded by my people. At Deloitte, I got to be around a lot of different folks, and I just realized this was a huge mistake. As I'm telling you guys this, I can't even describe it because it was just a big mistake. The company was fine, nothing wrong with the company. The people there, fine, just not for me. And I realized the working wasn't because of Deloitte. The working wasn't because of the new company. The working that I was doing was because I wanted to work as much as I did. So anyway, I get to this new place and I'm like immediately the next 3 months trying to figure out how to get the heck out of there. And my moral to the story is the grass is not always greener on the other side. So when you start your jobs and you're thinking like, oh man, this is not for me, you really have to do some deep reflection on, are you the problem or is the job the problem? Because for me, I was the problem. It wasn't Deloitte, it wasn't the new company, it was me. And so I worked for the next 3 months trying to get back. And so I did. I went back to, they took me back. Thank God. So Deloitte took me back. I went back to Deloitte. And then a few months later, they called me to come over to the Panthers. They thought I actually was still gone. So it was interesting. But yeah, so I mean, that was a major setback for me because I really, it was a turning point for me on what do I want to do. How much do I want to spend working? How much do I want to spend at home? What really mattered to me? So I learned a lot about myself, but I also learned maybe to have a little bit more patience with where I was. So it worked out.
Yeah. Thank you. Let me ask a question about the sort of the industry in general and maybe specifically with Tepper Sports and Entertainment. There's a lot in the headlines about trends in sports and entertainment. From your perspective, what excites you the most about the industry sort of in general, sports and entertainment, and then specifically with Tepper Sports and Entertainment?
So I am so excited about our renovation. So we, June 2024, Charlotte City Council approved a public-private partnership for at least an $800 million renovation to the stadium. I have 6 and 9-year-old boys that are going to grow up here. I am so excited about that and what the future holds for Charlotte, knowing that the stadium is going to be here, or the teams are going to be here. So that's really exciting to me. But it's also, we're exploring so many different things about how to make the fan experience better. And that's the biggest thing. So in sports in general, what we compete with is not necessarily other venues and other things like that, but really it's your TV and your phone and your iPads. And how do we get people to get off of their couches and come to the stadium and have a good time? So we're constantly talking about what is the ingress, what is the egress, how do we make this experience the absolute best it can be so people want to be here. And that's really been the focus of our whole renovation is what can make this fan experience the best.
And with the FC, a lot of people just think of the Panthers, but when did the FC come to Charlotte? When did that franchise start? Because that has just exploded in popularity. So it's like you've got these two teams now.
It is. We've clinched the playoffs, so we're super excited about Charlotte FC 2022. We were supposed to start in 21. Okay. The pandemic happened 20. 21 was when we were supposed to start. We kicked to 22, and we've been off and running, and it's been an amazing experience. I think for Charlotte, it just gives a different flavor to the city. So it's been a lot of fun. And again, we are tied the MLS record for most consecutive wins at 9. Unfortunately, we didn't break that. We lost to NYCFC, but we have clinched the playoffs. We'll know where we stand after October 18th. We play at home against Philadelphia Union. I think at 6 o'clock. So if you want to see where we end up, I'll give a little plug for the team. So yeah, no, it's been really great, I think, for the city. Yeah,
and you were in the pre-meeting. You were talking about the different flags that were. How many flags were at the FC games?
Somebody told me they counted 26 different international flags, but we've got. So like I said, we have academies. We have MLS Next, which is like a second team, first team. So it's a very, very international sport, not just all the international teams that come in here, but as we field the team, we're not just looking at players in the United States, but we're looking globally. And that goes all the way to our academies, to our first team.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Now, the last question I'm going to ask you is advice for all of us. But before I do that, we've got several student questions, both graduate and undergraduate students. So I'm going to just ask these. But these are really, I think they're really interesting and really good. So, related to what we're just now talking about, let me put you on the spot. How would you rate Charlotte as a sports town?
I mean, it's only the best. I mean, we have an NFL team, an MLS team, NBA team. You know, it goes a NASCAR, the Speedway. We've got a lot to offer.
Yeah.
But not only that, we have Savannah Bananas that comes in town. No, it's been a lot of fun. I think when you look at what Charlotte has to offer, particularly around the international side, the Copa. We've got MLS All-Stars coming up, you know, all of these different things. I just think it's incredible what Charlotte is able to do. And really, it's a testament to when people are looking at where do we want to come, it's no different than companies looking at where their headquarters are. We have to put up bids to get different events to come in. And it's really a testament to how Charlotte works together. Like, I can't stress it enough how important the community works together and how everyone comes together to make these events happen. And it's the business community, it's the private, it's public, it's everybody. And Charlotte, it's really fascinating and great the way everybody comes together to make these things happen.
You mentioned something earlier. Last year we had Haley Gentry, the CEO of the Charlotte Airport here, and she was talking about their expansion. And upstairs you mentioned that the airport, you know, that you were able to have 2 of the Savannah Banana games, and that was a critical part. So I think that sort of underscores the sort of connection between private, public, the community as well, because if we didn't have a world-class international airport, I think it would be much more challenging.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
So let me go back to your undergraduate experience and back to, are you a big Tigers fan, by the way? I'm curious.
Of course.
A lot of games? Do you go to?
I don't get to, it's very hard, I don't know anyone else in the room feels this way, but it's very hard to be a college football fan and an NFL fan because it takes up your whole Saturday and your whole Sunday, and then your Monday, your Thursday, your Friday, you know, which is fine, but to get to go to all of those is difficult. So I have to stay at home to watch those games most of the time.
So what was the most, looking back now, what was the most important class you took at Clemson and why?
Well, it would have to be my accounting classes that I aced. Because, those were, that's what shaped what I ended up doing and what I guess I'm ultimately passionate about and good at. So. Okay.
Let me ask you a question about, and I was reading your bio earlier, your level of engagement in the nonprofit sector is stunning, given the responsibilities that you have in your role with the Panthers and with Tepper Sports and Entertainment. The question was around, what time do you have to support nonprofit organizations? And I'd love to just hear a little bit more about the number of the nonprofits that you support here in Charlotte. And maybe why? Why such a high level of commitment, given all your responsibilities?
So, well, there's a few different things. One, Dave and Nicole, community is very, very important to Dave and Nicole. So our owners, expect that I'm in the community and I'm serving on different boards and being, a good corporate citizen, if you will. But the other part of it is, when I got in this, I was always behind a computer screen. I mean, my whole career has been in spreadsheets, which I was, I like that life. I'm probably more comfortable, most comfortable in that life. But when I got promoted to team president, I had to go meet people, and people embraced me. Dr. Dietermeyer, I was on her board actually while I was still CFO. I felt like it was really important for me to be out there so I could get to know different people in the community. It is, again, I go back to how special Charlotte is because so many of the business leaders are serving on all these different nonprofits. And for me to get to know people was important. I had to establish, obviously everybody knows who the Carolina Panthers are and Tepper Sports and Entertainment, but nobody knew who I was. And it's a relationship town. I mean, everything is your personal. Don't let anybody tell you that you shouldn't be kind to people and that your personal brand doesn't matter, because all of that stuff matters. And so I needed people to recognize, like, we do have good people at Tepper Sports and Entertainment. I hope when people see me, they feel that way. So it was very important for me just to, one, develop my own interpersonal skills and meet people. Important from a community perspective because our owners would require it. But then or not require it, that's not the right word. They encourage. It's just it's so important to them. Yep. And then the other thing is some of the ones that I'm on, for example, Girls on the Run. I have 2 boys. I feel like I need to pay it forward to young girls. I don't necessarily have an avenue to do that with my kids, but I love finance, so I'm on a finance committee for Girls on the Run just because I like to run. I like young girls and want to see them succeed, and I like financials. Yep. So it's not really any more than that. But yeah, so those are the main reasons that, I think just overall community is important, and Charlotte has shown that it's just as it's that important to Dave and Nicole, it's that important to Bank of America, it's that important to CPCC, it's that important to Queens. So we fit right in.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Let me ask you about a couple of fun questions that came in from the students. One is about hobbies. So you mentioned running. What are your favorite hobbies? And I would think the maybe limited amount of downtime that you have. What do you like to do when you're not working?
So I like to spend a lot of time with my boys and my husband, our family. But I like Legos. Anybody else in here? Lego? Yeah, I see some hands, yeah. So I really enjoy putting Legos together. I have quite a collection. Things with wheels are my favorite. I like the way that the mechanisms work to put those together. I'm not into Star Wars, so I have some Star Wars ones that are still in the box. But I really enjoy Legos. Yeah. It's kind of my therapeutic.
Well, I have a 2.5-year-old, and so the Legos, all the cool stuff is like all the intricate things, the Harry Potter and all of that. And I'm over here going, okay, this is the castle that has 7 pieces that are that big. So we're going to work our way up to the really cool stuff. And I am a Star Wars fan, so I hope I can nudge him in that direction. So you have an incredible job. You have an amazing job. But if you could pick your absolute dream job and dream place to live anywhere in the world, what would that be? What would the job be, and where would you live?
So this question, actually, I don't know who submitted it, if you're in this room or not.
I'm sure.
But this question garnered a lot of conversation at Tepper Sports and Entertainment. Because I'm totally stumped by the question. I think about different phases of my life, what I was thinking I wanted to do, and I asked everybody, I feel like, what would you, and I got so many different answers, and you really learn a lot about people when you ask them, like Kendall really is into fashion. We've got all different kinds of things, but what it boils down to is I kept thinking about it because I was like, what would my dream job be? Aside from living the life of leisure and traveling around the world with I don't know. In reflection of that question, I guess I have to pinch myself every single day that I get to do what I get to do. I don't know that there's a job that I could ever even put next to this one, because I can't think of anything else that I could do where I could integrate my family the way I get to integrate my family. My boys absolutely love Dave and Nicole. They love the stadium. They love Eddie, who's here with me. They love, it's just, it's the best place. And then when I think about where do I want to live, and of course I'm like Jackson Hole or, Colorado. I love Vail. I love St. John. I love the beach. I love everywhere. But I go back to Charlotte is just a really, really great place, great people. I'm so fortunate to get to raise my family here. So I really thought about this question. I'm telling you, I've been thinking a lot about it. What would it be? And I can't think of anything better or, anything I would rather do. I work with the best people. I'm just so absolutely fortunate and blessed and thankful for the opportunity that I've been given. And There's no better city to be in, I don't think. Charlotte is the absolute best place to be, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. What a wonderful response. I really appreciate that. I love Charlotte. I grew up wanting to live here, so I connect with a lot of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So with that, we are rounding third and coming into our final question, and that is for advice. We've got a lot of undergraduate, graduate students, alumni, community friends, and the like, but I really appreciate your humility, the gratitude that you've expressed, the responsibility you took for saying, hey, I took this job and it was me, not them. I mean, a lot of things that I've heard you say that are very impressive, but specifically with regard to success. What advice would you leave us with this evening?
So I think obviously you have to, there's like non-negotiables, like you have to be kind to people. I'm telling you, you don't believe it, you don't realize it, but I've been walking into Carolina Panther Stadium since I was 21 years old. I'm 40 right now. Walking into that stadium, and Miss Jerry and Mr. Coleman are still there. So they saw me when I was 21. I had to say hi to them every morning when I came in, and I'm doing that now, you know, this many years later, and I think if you ask them, how did I treat them when I was 21 coming in, and how do I treat them now, and it is the exact same. And it doesn't matter if they're the CEOs, the janitors, the security, the anything, the controller, how you treat people matters so much. But I read this thing actually yesterday on Instagram. That's where I seem to get my news these days. But it was a quote. I think it's the CEO of Workday or something. He said, your attitude determines your altitude. And I think that really spoke to me, because I'm like, how you show up. Again, it all comes back to like how you treat people, how you show up, and what kind of work effort you're willing to put in matters so much. That'll determine how high you go. Not, you know, how technical your skills are and how smart you are. It's those other things, especially in the age of artificial intelligence, where you're competing with things that are so much smarter than we'll ever be. Then what comes next? It's how you treat people. And so that quote, and I think it's the Workday CEO, I'm not sure, but is the attitude will get to your altitude, or whatever it was. It's just it's so important, and it's so true.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate that, and appreciate your time this evening and your energy with this. Thank you so much.
No,
it was such an
guys.
honor for us to host you here tonight. Thank you.
Hopefully I didn't say anything to get myself in trouble.
And we have a small gift on behalf of Dean Rotundo and the McCall School of Business that I want to leave you with, that I'll carry up. Thank you. And as a reminder, if you will allow us to come up, we've got a reception immediately following upstairs. Thank you all again for being here. We'll see you upstairs. Thanks. Thank you.